So I'm in my master bathroom, and today I'm going to be replacing the normal light switch that controls my fan overhead and replacing it with a fan timer switch. Now typically this is pretty easy to do, but in this situation this is made to be used with a single pole switch, which normally your bathroom has, and I actually have a three-way switch because I have one fan control here and then one right there in the corner. And these are literally so close I can touch them both at the same time, so it's kind of redundant. So I'm going to eliminate that one and keep the one here. And so to do that, I need to make sure that when I pull that one out, the power is still able to go here. So I'm going to show how to wire that today, and then I'm going to do a little bit more over there, which we'll get to later. All right, so power's off, so I'm going to tear into this one and get this switch out of the way. Okay, so you notice here that we've got our black wire, we got a red, and we have a white. Now the white is not a neutral in this case, it's a second traveler. So we got the two traveling wires and our common wire. And I'm gonna unhook these all right now. Black just came out on its own. There we go. Okay, to start with, I don't need the white wire, so I'm gonna cap it, and then I'm gonna tape it so that it can't come off, and it will just get tucked away back in there. I'll keep the red and the black. They'll hook up to the corresponding color wires on the back of my switch, and then the grounds are back in here all bundled together. So I don't have much to work with, but I'll wrap the ground wires around that bundle back there. So I stripped a little more off the ground wire, so I had a bit more to work with. Okay, ground is now attached. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is put back the other switch. I don't need it out anymore. I only took it out so I could get to the ground wires, and then I will install my new fan switch. Alright, now that the fan switch is in, I'm going to remove the plate here, and I'm going to remove this switch because I want to eliminate entirely and put in that blank. Okay, I'm going to remove the middle one, which is the heater control, because I don't have a lot of wiggle room here. So hopefully by removing the centerpiece, I'll gain a little bit more freedom to move this switch around. All right, from here what I want to do is I want to get this switch out of here, and then I will deal with making sure that the power stays connected to send power down to the other switch that we installed. Okay, I'm going to try to explain what they have going on in here. So initially when I took out the fan switch, we had these two wires hooked up and they were travelers, and then this was supplying the power. And you can see this has been cut in the middle so it could wrap around the terminal for the fan, and then continues on to, this is my heater switch, and it's been cut again, the insulation in the middle, so it could wrap around on that terminal, and then it comes off and comes over here to, this is one of the light switches. So I need to keep the blacks, and they need to be tied together again, essentially. This white one I can eliminate because it was one of the travelers, and I eliminated the white one on the opposite side. Now, I don't like the way they did this. There's a lot of exposed wire in here, and of course I want to bring the heater switch over here and put my blank adapter in the middle so that the heater is farther into the corner because we don't use it very often. And to do that, I need more room here because this is restraining it. It's keeping it so that I can't reach over here. So I'm going to use some adapters to be able to do this, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cap the white wire. Now I don't need any sort of copper exposed in there any more than it already is, so I'm just going to cut it off, and now I'm going to put the cap on it, and that'll be it for now. Eventually I'll tuck it away in there. Now my next step is I'm going to unscrew this wire from both of these switches so that I have the entire thing to work with. dropped it. There's one, and that's two. All right, these two wires, they're just gonna stay on so they can hold the switch. Now I'm going to straighten this wire as best I can. Now this wire, the end is kind of beat up, so I'm going to cut it off and strip it and start with a new section. There we go. Now I'm going to cut this piece as well. Now I'm going to leave more wire on this side, and I will strip what I need from this section. Alright, now to make my life really easy, I said earlier I was going to use an adapter. I meant to say I'm going to use a push-in connector, and what this is going to allow it to do is this is a 3-hole push-in connector. So I've got power, this will go to the fan, and then using that piece I just cut off of this one, I will plug in another one into the 3rd hole, which will go to this switch, and then I will cut that wire again so that it can go to here, but do so in a better manner. So let's do the first one, push it in. All right, that's one, nice and secure. Next, we're good. Now I'm gonna grab my other wire, try to straighten this out a little bit. I'm gonna push this section in. Okay, now what I need is I need this piece to go into the back of it. So before they were all wrapped around the terminals, I'm gonna plug directly into the back. It was the same thing on this side, and that was putting tension across the back of the switch because there wasn't a lot of space. So they were kind of tight across there. By plugging into the back, I'll gain a little more slack. Now I'm gonna plug it into the back of here. Maybe not. Okay, so this wire is too big to plug into the back of the switch, which is probably why they had it wrapped around. To make my life a little easier, I'm gonna go in through underneath the terminal plate here so that I can get both wires in without having to do any sort of like twisting them together or anything like that. So that will secure from the power on the top one, and then branching off from here to the other switch. Make sure that's nice and tight. Check on the wires. Yep, that's why we check. Okay. I'll come into the other side, underneath the plate here as well. By doing it under the plate instead of wrapping it around the terminal, I'm maximizing the amount of wire I have to go between the two, because if I wrap it around, I need quite a bit to make that loop. All right, that's secure. And now both are capable of reaching their respective spots, and then I will put the blank cover plate in the middle. Now I just need to put everything into back into the box to make sure everything's gonna have space to fit in there, and then secure these down. So a quick little tip. You can see here that I've labeled the inside of my electrical plate, and it says breaker 7. So I've got like 30 breakers in my electrical box. You know, it's a big house. And they didn't bother to write down what all these different outlets and switches are on. So as I discovered them, I marked the inside of my plates. Now I've also wrote down on a piece of paper, and long term I intend to type it up and have a nice diagram to be able to find everything. But this is a quick little way to go about it, and this way every time you do one, you write it down either with a Sharpie on the inside or use a label maker like I did so it's nice and pretty. And then that way, if you have to come back and do electrical work again like I did here, all I have to do is take off the plate and I know exactly which breaker controls everything inside. Okay guys, so you can see the new fan switch is in and it works. And you can switch between different time settings on here, and when it hits, you know, if it's set for 10 minutes and it hits the 5-minute mark, then it'll jump down and the green light will go to the 5, and then of course it turns off automatically when that timer is up. So I really like these types of switches because you don't have to worry about it. If you turn it on, you don't have to think like, oh no, I'm at work and I forgot to turn the fan off in the bathroom. No, it's just gonna turn itself off on its own when that timer is up. Or if you just want to turn it off right away, just press the power button. Okay, so that concludes the installation process for a fan timer. Now, yeah, this one was a little more complicated than your standard one. If you didn't have a 3-way switch for the fan, then this would be pretty simple and straightforward. You would just take out the old switch and basically hook up the new one. For mine, it was a little more complicated, but I wanted to eliminate that other switch and then move all of that wiring over so I could have a little more room in the box and fix that disaster that you saw in there. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, then please give me a thumbs up, click that subscribe button and the bell, and we'll see you next time on the DIY Grunt.